Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazukas. I've looked at all 185, 86 decks that are going to be in the World's Finals. And today I wanted to highlight a few of these that I think are going to potentially make it to the top 16 because of their um, unique Bruin, I guess, decisions. And so bear with me as I go through this list. It's a little bit more convoluted than I would like, but I have some names here that I would like to highlight. So let's change the screen. All right, so if you go here, I have the first one would be Danger Ace. We're gonna look for Danger Ace's deck, which I think I can do Control Find here. That might be easier. Oops, that was on here. That's why. So let's go over here. Control F, Danger Ace. Okay, here we go. So if we click here, we can see Danger Ace's deck. Based on all the data that I've compiled, and I've been pretty exhaustive in looking at the decks that are being presented inside of Worlds, there were a few that I wanted to highlight. There really isn't a Silver Surfer representation, and I thought this Silver Surfer with Snow Guard, Web Sling, Zorn was a pretty inspired list. I'm not sure if Zorn's going to get him in trouble because Move is an actual pretty big archetype in this meta right now, so that might actually hurt rather than help Danger Ace. He is running Spider Punk, which I think is an interesting addition for the Silver Surfer package. But I was very intrigued by this list, so I'm going to be watching out for Danger Ace's deck in Worlds because I think they may do well. And then we have another one which is No Lux Given is another one I wanted to highlight. And for this one, again, it's another Silver Surfer package. This one's more of your, quote unquote similar package. Just running Hitmonkey, Brood, Captain Carter, kind of going all in on this strategy. He does have some extra utility with Onslaught and Sarah for some finishers at the end of the game itself. So I do think Silver Surfer is something that is potentially powerful in this tournament. But we'll see. Because I was going to actually run my own Silver Surfer package. And let's see if I can bring that up now and show you the decks that I had specifically with that. I might have gotten rid of it because it just didn't come out with anything too. Yeah, I don't think I actually have it anymore. I think it was just a thing that I was working on, and then maybe it's this one. I doubt it though. No, it's not that one. Rocks don't bother me. Nerfed Avengers. Denied. Yeah, I was working on a list, but obviously I gave up on it. So I was thinking that Silver Surfer might actually be good in the tournament. So I have to wait and see. All right, next up would be on this list is gonna be something Yennefer. Is it Yennefer? Sorry, my writing is kind of bad. It's mm, I think it's Ifer. Okay, I'm not finding it. Let me go back to the list here and see if I can scroll down and get an idea because it's past No Lux Given. That's probably not gonna work. All right. Well, we'll have to skip that one. Bigish is another one. All right, let's check out Bigish's deck list. So Bigish was obviously running Galactus First Steps, which a good number of people are running that card specifically, and then the deck that basically controls it. But what I found interesting about him is that he's running the newly buffed Vision card. Professor X, which I'm not sure is going to have a good matchup because there's a lot of Thanos and a lot of War Machine in the tournament, so they may not actually get the benefit of Professor X to the extent. He's running Doctor Strange just for some versatility and some you know being unable to actually account for things on the field, which I think is extremely smart. Obviously, if you are able to destroy into Professor X, it's saved, or the things in under Professor X are saved from destroy, so you can do that combo if you need to at the tail end of the game. I think this one could be pretty interesting to see, and it's an outlier from the decks that I was able to look at. Adamantium, something like that. This deck is one of the more interest in Man Spiders, or just Man Spider in general. I want to see how this is going to perform. This is all in on the Man Spider combo with Symbiote Spider Man, which does not actually like do the kind of things that you would want from Man Spider, but it's not bad, but it's just not the greatest. You have Strange Supreme, obviously. Aram Zola and Taskmaster are your two more iconic things for like the Black Panther thing. But I'm interested in see how this deck list does, specifically Man Spider in that sense. And then you have Priority. This might have been the most unique deck in the entire list. Running Pixie, Thanos, Werewolf by Night, Agamotto. It's kind of like a tech, a tech deck in many aspects. It's got a lot of value here. I'm very interested to see how this deck performs in the competition. If I had to guess, I would say that this one has a really good chance of making it pretty high. All right, let's check Butte out. Butte was another one that I looked at. This one has like the move package, but also on the tail end of it, it has the ability to do some Dracula. It has Red Wing. It's kind of the jack of all trades. Makari, just for value coming out of the hand. I'm very interested to see how Bewd, or Bewd, does. I have a feeling it's probably going to do pretty well, so I wanted to highlight that one. We have Fatal Omen was the other deck that I wanted to highlight. This deck, let me just look at it real quick. It has an Annihilus package. It has a Cersei package, but it also has the move package. So I think these kind of things that are kind of jack of all trades, that has Sentry in it as well, are extremely interesting. So him and BEWD, I do think might have some things going on that could potentially help them out in the tournament. We have, I'm not sure if I spelled this right. Is it PR? Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find that. Oh, you know what it is? It might be Drogon. All right, we'll skip that one. I don't know. Dextro. I'm not sure if this is the streamer or not, but I wanted to highlight this one specifically. Again, Thor and Beta Ray Bill, with the Fire Hair combo synergy thing with Misery. This is a very unique deck, in this tournament, and I wanted to highlight it because I want to see how Thor and Beta Ray Bill does in 2025 on a grand scale, going against some of the best decks in the entire game, with the move and V hand representing an extreme amount of the decks in this. They represent 30, 60, 90, 120, like 1/5 of the decks in the entire tournament. With that, that's not even taking consideration all the stuff that's sprinkled in there. You have Rico. Yep, Rico 500 is another deck I wanted to highlight. This deck is another Werewolf by Night deck, with a Cersei package with an additional Sasquatch. Some extra utility here with Iceman, and I'm not even sure if the last one that we showcased had Viper, but I'm interested to see how this one does as well. I think Werewolf by Night is going to do pretty well. I'm running it, so I'm hoping it's able to compete. Then we have Sebi. No, Subby. Yep, Subby. Subby's running a Death Scar Sasquatch, like high amounts. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. I was just more intrigued on how it was gonna perform without Null and without some of the more common things in this deck. But if they can make death value, if they can, bring down Sasquatch and death, um, and Mockingbird, then they're gonna do well with Scar and everything else. That's quite a bit of value. So I'm interested to see how this more straightforward deck does in the tournament. Then we have Muse. Muse is another one of these fire hair, but this case it has Fire Lord, Phoenix, Sarah, and then this is the one that has, and I think there's only like a couple that have the Superior Spider-Man in it with Cassandra Nova. I think Cassandra Nova is going to do pretty well. There's quite a few Erisham, Thanos, technically Loki as well. Not as many Loki, but there is enough for Cassandra to get some value. So it'll be very interesting to see how Muse does in the tournament. And then I wanted to highlight a few more. I'm not sure if I have the name for this. SM? Yep, okay. This person. This person's running like some, Silver Surfer, but he's gonna put it in the Shaw, activate, just general like buff package, with some extra utility tech cards built in. I'm just curious to see how this deck will do in the tournament. It's kind of an outlier. Flamboyant is the other one I wanted to highlight. This one has Wong is not being represented too much. The Namora is cool. I think it might be the only Namora in the entire tournament. You have Lasher, you have Frankie Renova. These are all cards that you don't see get a lot of play. So I'm extremely interested to see how Flamboyant's going to do in the tournament. It's, again, a very unique deck compared to the rest. And then we have four more. Canadian Alfredo. Canadian Alfredo this is a very common Darkhawk deck, but I wanted to highlight Darkhawks. It's representing, I think, about 4 decks in the entire tournament, give or take. I don't have the exact numbers, but this is the Terra, one, but it has some like, it's not all in on Darkhawk. So I'm just interested to see how this is gonna do. Clearly with the people that are running Thanos and Erisham, this is going to provide a lot of value for the Darkhawk specifically. So I'm just curious how Canadian Alfredo is going to do as well, being a Darkhawk deck, but not going all in, kind of like having his cake and eat it too. Then we have Fake Canadian. This one was a Ronin package, which Ronin represents only like 3 decks in the entire tournament. It's a very, cookie cutter one. It has Fantastic, Mr. Fantastic, which is not being run a lot ever since he got nerfed. Negasonic. I'm interested to see how Ronin will do in the tournament with an Alioth package. So that was something I wanted to highlight early on. And then 2 more. The guy. This one was the Knoll, and I wanted to highlight this one because of Fenris Wolf. Fenris Wolf was only like representing like 2 of the tournament. Cobra's not. I think Cobra, I don't know how many Cobras were being represented, maybe only a few. I think this can get some value in this tournament specifically. There's a lot of decks that are creating stuff. The problem is with this one, it doesn't actually have Enchantress or any kind of ongoing support. So if it does go against that, it might not do so well. It does have Danger. It has a lot of Disruption. It has a lot of Destroy. It has a lot of tech. I'm very interested how the guy's going to do in this particular case. And it's leveraging the Null to get all that stuff. Last but not least is Fudge. This is the last deck I highlight. Another Lady Deathstrike deck. This has, again, a lot of tech in it, specifically. Pretty straightforward. Using Death this time instead of Null to do that with Misery. So these are the decks I wanted to highlight. specifically, and then I can show you my deck, which is also an outlier, by the way. What I'm going to be bringing to the Golden Gauntlet, I spent a lot of time testing decks, and this one was actually one that I did within the last couple hours before deck submission because I was just so conflicted of what I wanted to bring. I kind of was worried about Affliction, so I brought Luke Cage because I didn't want to deal with Spider Punk and the negative, the Affliction decks. The good news is Spider Punk represents about 10 of the decks inside the tournament, so I think I did well with bringing something like Luke Cage. I think hopefully it'll benefit me if I'm able to draw him. Clearly, I have Loki in here, so you can see that. So there's a possibility that I don't even play Luke Cage because I'm just going to proc Loki and then start using their deck as value, but I'll have to determine that depending on the matchups and stuff like that. And that's going to be my skill over their skill and my knowledge over that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the only person bringing both Morph and Astral Projection and technically Uado into the tournament. I'm very interested to see how, knowing the locations early on, even though there's quite a bit of Legion in the thing. I didn't see that much Quake, but I know there's Legion. So unfortunately, the advantage of having knowledge of a location is not going to be that great. But hopefully, it can get me an advantage in the first couple turns, and that's going to be an important part of my deck. Like for me to win, I'm going to have to get really good, turn 3 or 4. If I'm not there, then I most likely am going to lose based on a lot of these matchups, unless I get my tech cards and they're not drawn as much as they were. The good news, this is conquest format, so there's a lot of potential for you to have some really good hands. There are like 30 people running Cosmic Ghost Rider, but I'm doing the Astral Projection package to try to get Cosmic Ghost Rider and Enchantress to proc early, if not more. Like so, that's why I don't really have a lot of on reveal in my deck because I want Astral Projection to only proc these 3 cards in my entire deck. Now there is a Dormammu thing that you might be like, well, how are you going to proc Dormammu? Dormammu's only represented like 3 people in this entire tournament, and my Dormammu is not efficient at all. It's going to require locations to have destroy. It's going to require my teammates trying to destroy my deck, and hopefully that's when I'll get value from my Dormammu. And a lot of times, my Dormammu is not going to be used for anything besides the 0 spell that you get in the beginning of the game to proc my Werewolf by Night. That's the utility I use for my Werewolf by Night. I don't know if it's going to work, but this is the deck I'm bringing. I think Merlin is a broken card. I think Merlin in the Hood is an extremely strong synergy. I think Enchantress, based on the amount of ongoings that are going to be in the deck, and then just some V-hand stuff that you can potentially disrupt with Enchantress. And then I'll use Astral Projection to hopefully get that out early. I think can be extremely effective. I was so conflicted about what I was going to bring. I'm pretty happy with what I decided to bring. Like I can show you, these are all the decks that I worked on, literally. I worked on this deck, Captain Thanos deck. I tried the hardest to bring Zombie Captain Marvel into the tournament. I just couldn't. I was gonna go with Professor X. I'm glad I didn't in the end because there's just too much. And then obviously Daredevil. Uwado was always part of the plan. I just didn't know if I could fit him into a package. I wanted to bring a Zombie Horde package, obviously Quake, Zorn. I wanted to bring Titania just for potential fun interactions and back and forth with the opponent, but I was actually having an issue juggling her, so I decided not to. I was going to bring a Destroy, but I wanted to bring Zombie Captain Marvel in it. Couldn't figure it out to the extent that I felt comfortable. I was going to bring Air Marvel, and this time it was going to be with Zombie Captain Marvel again, with the Airwalker. This was probably the most successful of the packages, but there was just some awkward turns, and the consistency was a little bit off, so I just didn't do it. This is like a very standard Scar thing that I was going to bring, and I think this deck will perform very well inside the competition. There's not that many Soren decks. There's like 6 in total that are straight Soren. So this is going to be an interesting thing. Man move was just me thinking out loud and doing kind of what I already highlighted, like a half measured in between deck from this. So I don't know if this would have worked out. It was kind of awkward in places, and I wasn't able to synergize fully, so I didn't feel comfortable. This was a deck that I felt like had a lot of answers and probably was the safest bet to bring, but I just felt like I didn't have enough utility for Cerebro to proc most of the time, and it's probably easily disrupted. So I just decided not to, even though I had Cosmo and stuff like that. Like this deck allows you to bring a lot of tech, which is good, but it may not actually matter. I was gonna bring Infinite's been represented pretty well too. I was gonna bring some package like this, and I wanted Master Mold because I was kind of worried about people holding things inside their hand. I think I made the right choice not to bring Master Mold. Obviously, Master Mold is not a really good card. I tried to bring Mole Man, and this is the list that I tried to bring Mole Man in. I literally went all in on 7 8 drops to try to proc Mole Man, and then the Man Spider synergy and all this just utility in trying to get these out while also being able to Mole Man, and that's this package. I wanted to really use this deck, but there was just a few things that I couldn't justify, and there was no tech at all, so I had to cut it from my list. I had this deck Bruin, which I actually found to be very good. Again, I was just kind of light on Cerebro. Cerebro only represents 5 of the tournament decks, so I think a lot of people were kind of on the fence with it. I didn't even run V. I didn't even try any V hand, so I don't even know, man. It might have been the deck of choice if I had try it a little bit more. I actually like this deck a lot. This deck essentially Astral Project Nick Fury on turn 3. You set up, a really good turn 4 to do some pretty cool things before you get to the end turn where you have a lot of filler for Isan at that rate. I actually like this deck a lot. It's one of my favorite decks that I built. Merlin Man is another deck that I built that I had a lot of fun with. Being able to potentially use Merlin, Hawkeye to proc extra energy from Hope Summers, to play more cards for Sasquatch and Man Spider, get an energy from Wiccan, and Absorbent Man for the extra value. Like all this stuff was extremely fun. I was gonna bring this as well. I mean, to be honest, Merlin Man, Mole Man, and uh, yeah, yeah, Isan Surprise were all pretty much very high considerations. Denied. This is the deck that's probably represented the most that I did not bring, which is the War Machine Legion, and I might regret that. We'll see. This actually, if I'm being, you know, if I'm being accurate, this was the most successful deck that I built, and it should have been statistically what I brought, but I decided not to because I just because it performed so well. Like Lockjaw was pulling out Infinauts, Galactuses, the Blink was doing the same. Professor X was doing really good in lanes, locking it down. I just had a really good time with this deck, and this is the deck I should have brought, but I didn't. Obviously, I was trying to figure out the debris stuff with Ghost Rider. There is probably not a single person that's tried to cook with Ghost Rider, the first Ghost Rider, more than me. I've tried to make this card work. I recently even tried before it was buffed to use it in a negative package by having like high power cards in my hand and trying to like give it to my opponent, but it's just so much work for very little reward. In this particular package, you can literally discard anything with it and then still have the 7 with Luke Cage. It's a fun little list, and it had a little Cerebro Cerebro 7 package going on here. I wasn't sure, so I just didn't bring it. Another Cerebro, which was 8-11, which is Cerebro 8, obviously. I was having a lot of fun with this one too, with the life coming down to 8. There was a lot of tech in this, and I just didn't have enough testing. The Ultron didn't feel strong enough, and if I were to put more stuff in there, I'd feel bad. So that's where I kind of left it with that one. And then the Nerfed Avengers was just a last minute thing. I revised this so many times. This was mostly going to just be a tech package. Um, and then it kind of got reiterated, and I just didn't feel comfortable with bringing it. Deck 18, I don't know what this one is. Oh, this was gonna be another one that I potentially was gonna bring last minute, and it performed pretty well. Probably top 5 overall, so I wouldn't sleep on this deck. But in the end, I brought this one, and that's the one I'm gonna be running. And I'll be honest with you, it is the most spiciest, unique list. It has a lot of things that don't work off each other, you know, technically on paper, and I'm very excited to see how it performs. But my name is Plazukas. Please tune into the Worlds on Marvel Snap stuff if you're even interested in this game. They've spent a lot of time working on the back end to get this in the tournament. The three previous and then the Worlds have kind of run flawlessly, and I'm sure that's required a lot of sleepless and sacrifices. So if you're interested in Marvel Snap or, curious, check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.